Hey movers, I'm Coach Howe, and today we are going over our couch decompression level 1. This work is extremely important. It is not to be overlooked. It looks very easy, it looks like very little work, but that is the practice that we are putting into play today. We're learning how to downregulate our bodies, to give our body the time and space that it needs to heal itself, and to slow things down in the mind and the body. It's a tedious practice for some and very enjoyable for others. Nonetheless, it is something that really needs to be done if you are interested in bringing your body back to home base, to having a pain-free, tension-free body. And today is exactly what we're doing. We're learning how to let go of tension in our body. There are times that we want to turn on tension. There's also times that we need to let go of tension. Letting go of tension is something that we very rarely practice in our day-to-day lives. And today we are going to spend roughly 40 minutes practicing this. If you are someone who is currently in a state of pain or has tension, unwarranted tension in your body, this work is going to be incredibly beneficial for you. And Luna and I will be joining you. I have come into this video with the intention of you following along with me. So if you're ready to get into this practice and are going to follow along with me, please go ahead and get just a few items on hand. One is going to be a booty band or any type of strap that can help keep your legs, your feet, and everything straight. It's really important that we go ahead and utilize this tool so we are not putting tension into muscle groups to hold ourselves straight. We want to let gravity do its work, pulling our bones into the backspace, and we want to utilize this tool to help hold our bones in a neutral position. The next thing I have is my couch. This is a soft surface for me to rest my legs upon with a nice carpeted floor. If you don't have a carpeted floor and you need to grab a yoga mat, grab a chair or something that will suffice of putting your feet up, laying back into the ground, and relaxing, that is the name of this game. Lastly, I do have this little knee pad here. We are going to do about 10 minutes of this decompression practice. We will get into about 6 minutes of rockers. We'll come back into our decompression practice and we will do some pigeons as well. So we will end with more decompression. It's going to be about a 40-minute practice altogether. So if you need to set this video aside for another time where you have the time to put this practice into play, I strongly suggest that you do that, and I strongly suggest that you go ahead and move along with me for your first time so you can listen to the instructions, listen to the cueing, and get the most out of this practice as possible. This is a practice that you can do at any time, whether you want to lay on the ground on your phone and practice this, read a book, watch TV, but I do highly recommend that you come into this practice with nothing else going on but this practice. That will help you make the most profound changes and really help put this practice to best utilization. So we're going to go ahead and once again get started with about 10 minutes of decompression, jump into those pigeons, more decompression, some rockers, more decompression, and we'll call it a day. But let's go ahead, get our booty band, let's get anything that we need on the floor to make ourselves comfortable, find our position on the couch, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to first wrap on my booty band just above my knees, around this mid-thigh area, to once again help keep my femurs in a straight line. And as I set myself up on the couch here, it's really important that I continue to create a straight line between my feet, ankles, knees, and hips. I don't want to get caught with my feet splaying out and dumping outside, with my knees hanging outside. I really want to stack everything in line. Now, the distance that you are away from the couch is totally up to you. Some people like a little bit further distance and allow their knees and their legs to straighten up a bit. Some people really benefit from getting into a 90-degree angle, tucking their butt up to the couch as firmly as they can. I like to find myself in a bit of a neutral position here, but once again, setting up and finding our shape is going to be the most important thing for us at this time. So I'm going to look up at my feet here. I'm going to double check that my feet, my toes are pointed straight up to the ceiling. My knees are in a straight line with my feet, and that is all in line with my hips.
Next, I'm going to go ahead and check in with my arms and my shoulders. I really want to make sure my palms are facing towards the sky. I don't want my palms facing the ground, as this internally rotates my shoulders and lifts them off the ground and puts us into the shape that we spend so much time in every single day. So palms to the sky, backs of the shoulders to the floor, and we're just gonna let everything in our torso fall and melt to the ground. The next thing that we can check in on is our tailbone. When we set up in this position, set our knees and feet up in a straight line with our hips and get stacked here and allow our shoulders to fall to the ground. We want to really check in and make sure that our head, one, is not jutting forward and our chin jutting up. We can get a little bit more of this action going on with our neck, but especially the tailbone. Is our tailbone tucked underneath, or are we pushing the tailbone into the ground, creating a small space in the low back? The amount of space in the low back that you give yourself is totally up to you. But once again, in this practice, we are trying to let go of tension. So we don't want to be activating muscle groups and holding shapes and holding positions. We really want to adjust ourselves, find a nice shape where our tailbone is not tucked underneath us, maybe just a slight tilt of pressing the tailbone to the ground, and then relaxing and allowing our bones to fall into the back space. Now that we have our shape and our position, we're ready to get started in this decompression practice. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my hands and leave them out, stretched to my side, palms to the sky. And once again, just checking in here with everything that's happening in my body. When we come into this position and we start practicing our decompression, we really don't wanna just passively lay here and let time pass. We truly want to tap in to our body. We want to calm our mind and calm our body, take an internal inventory on what is happening in our body and what our body is trying to communicate to us. Unfortunately, our body doesn't have a verbal language that we use to communicate with, but it does have sensory and pain signals. And those signals can sometimes be sharp and uncomfortable, really letting us know that the body doesn't like what's happening. But other times, these sensations are a little bit dull. They're more under the radar, and they're easily tucked under the rug by people who are really not interested in listening to the body. They don't have time for it, and it's really not a laziness or denial of what's happening. There's so much hustle and bustle in everyday life. We're constantly moving, constantly struggling and hustling towards jobs, towards life, relationships, and family. We rarely have the time to take a moment with ourselves and say, hey, how am I feeling? And why is my body feeling and giving me these sensations? And what can I do about it? But during this time today, during this practice, we are going to be mindful of those sensations. We're going to be mindful and present with our body. And we're going to start checking in on what our body has to say, why it's saying it, and what we can do to make our body a little bit more happy. So as you take this internal inventory, we are going to start at our feet, at our ankles, and our shins, and try and check in to see if there's any tension being held, any discomfort, and is there any micro movements, micro adjustments that I can make to make my body feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more relaxed, and a little bit more decompressed in this position. And as we view our foot and our ankle complex, we can work our way up the shins into the knees, into the thighs, the front of the thighs, the back of the thighs. Is there any tension being held here that we do not want, that does not serve our body? And as we especially work our way into our hips and our low back, this may be where a lot of people are feeling some unwarranted sensations. And I highly encourage that although we found our shape at the beginning of this practice, Our bodies are constantly in need of movement. And even just laying here with our body, we are moving, our blood is flowing, we are breathing in and out air, our diaphragm is working, our body is moving and working now. So with tiny micro adjustments, I encourage you to utilize these to wiggle and create a stronger, more comfortable, relaxed decompression position for your body. Meaning we are looking to find itty bitty movements, tiny micro adjustments with our tailbone, with our feet, our shoulder, our neck, to try and help our spine get a little bit longer and to feel more comfortable laying here on the ground. We've worked our way up through our hips, going up through our rib cage now and into our shoulders and arms. Really allow those backs of the shoulders to fall to the floor, to really melt to the ground. Let go of the tension in the collarbones, the chest, front of the shoulders, front of the neck. Really allow gravity to do its work, to relax these muscle groups on the front side of the body and let gravity pull your bones to the back side and let your body melt to the floor. We've kind of scanned our way up through our whole body, and now an easily overlooked aspect is the face muscles. It's easy to hold tension in the face, to make these funny faces that you would most commonly recognize in a gym or a yoga class or Pilates. People are pinching and struggling and making these goofy faces because they're building tension in other areas of their body and they're struggling to do so. Today we are working on the flip side of that exercise coin, where we are doing our best to let go of these tensions, to relax our face, relax our whole body. And as we let go of that tension in our face, we can really let go of tension in the rest of the body. I want to once again here check in to make sure that we're holding a nice strong shape. If you were to take your two fingers, your index and your middle finger, and bring them behind your head, there's a bony landmark behind your skull that we can slightly tug and pull along to straighten our neck and to create more length and space in your spine. And if that is helpful and serves you, I encourage you to do so and reset your arms back at your side. Even just a slight chin tuck can serve you, but once again, we don't want to hold on to pressure in the front of the neck to hold our chin down. We can make a slight adjustment, let go and release, and come back to this Zen space for our body where we are really working hard here to do less. We've got about 3 more minutes in this first round of decompression. And I really want to invite you to start focusing on your breath and how your breath work can really ramp up this work here today. So as we continue to practice, I will ask that you do breathing with an inhale through your nose and an exhale through your mouth. We can certainly inhale and exhale through our nose, but when we exhale through our nose, that can invite more tension into the body. So for the purpose of this practice, a nice slow inhale through the nose that helps fill up our low belly and expand our diaphragm, accompanied by an elongated, slow exhale that lets go of more air than you originally breathed in, will be the next portion of this practice that I highly encourage you to spend the most focus on. And during these reps of breath work, recognize that you can pull more length and create more space in your spine, in your hips, and in your whole body. So with our first intentional breath work here, we're going to take a nice slow deep breath through our nose, filling up our low belly, feeling the belly button rise, feeling the low back rise with the belly as well. And go ahead and exhale more air than we originally breathed in, and taking a long time to expel that air, almost twice the amount of time that it took you to inhale. On the next inhale, we will continue to fill up the low belly and hip crease, front hip crease, and at the same time, we're going to fill up the middle back of our rib cage. So trying to expand the low belly and feeling the mid-low rib cage press through the floor as we fill our diaphragm and lungs full of air. And have a nice, slow, long exhale, letting go of tension, letting go of pressure, and feeling space being invited into the body as the spine grows longer and more decompressed. As we continue to breathe and invite more space into our body, I continue to encourage those itty bitty micro adjustments that your body is asking you to make. Can you pull more length out of your tailbone and get that tailbone out from underneath you? Once again, do not want that tailbone tucking underneath and pulling up to the sky. We need that tailbone getting long and almost driving into the floor. I don't want you to put pressure into the floor with that tailbone, but try to make those small micro adjustments where you feel more space, more length, and more decompressed in the low back and hip area, where you feel comfortable and ready to invite more space and more length. We've reached our time for this first round of decompression, so I'm going to ask that we slowly come out of this position by first bringing our knees to our chest and finding either our left or our right side to turn over. And once we turn over, we can bring our hands to our shoulders and underneath our head and slowly come up and out of this position, where we are going to get into a little bit of a pigeon hold. I'm going to go ahead and just start on my right side, and we're going to spend about 3 minutes in that right side, and then we'll get into the left hip and we'll spend about 3 minutes in that left hip. I'm going to go ahead and give some options for our pigeon. The first option is going to be an elevated pigeon, where I put my loading leg that I'm working on top of an elevated surface and letting my trail non-working leg fall down to the floor. And that may look like something like this, having this nice big space on my couch. I'm going to get situated in a seiza position here on my couch. And before I drop back into my pigeon, I want to get up in a strong position where I can laterally shift to my right side and find pressure in my right hip. Once I've found that pressure in my right hip, I'm going to do a lateral shift with my feet from a 6 o'clock to a 7 o'clock position. I don't want to work my way all the way to 8 o'clock. That's about a 45-degree angle with that right foot. I want to stay at about 7 o'clock, where I have about a 22-degree angle with my knee to my foot on that right side. I'm still loaded and engaged in this right hip. And now that I have that engagement and I've put myself in a good shape, I'm going to slowly release my left leg behind me, holding on to this pressure in my right hip. And I'm now going to drop to the floor until I feel a nice good stretch here, never losing the pressure in this right hip. If you've lost the pressure in the right hip and you're feeling pinching in the front hip crease, we need to come back and start from ground one. So we're here in our position, finding pressure in the hip. We get a lateral shift of the hips, then we get the lateral shift of the feet, and now we can come back down, holding this pressure in this right hip and holding a nice elevated pitch in this right hip. I'm going to go ahead and allow my torso to fall forward, putting my elbows onto the couch, and this back left leg is just going to fall down and rest on the floor. I'm going to continue the same breathing practice that we did in our lying decompression. So at this time, I'm going to ask that you follow along with me, taking in a nice deep breath through your nose, filling up the back right pocket of the hip. We want to direct our breath to our hip area, fill up that back right pocket, and even fill up the front hip crease of that right side as well. Let it go with a long exhale. Feeling ourselves get a little bit looser, getting a little bit longer. You may have even seen my hip drop there a little bit. I was feeling some tension there, and as I exhaled and was able to release that tension, I was able to get this pigeon a little bit deeper. I right now have my elbows and torso just collapsed down, holding this pressure in my right hip. If you don't have this range of motion, you may need to stand tall with your torso and not dump down. We don't want to passively dump down into this position where we've lost that pressure in that right hip. We want to hold that pressure, tension, and stretch in this back right hip and keep everything out of the front side. So you are welcome to take the right hand, pull it back towards the right hip, let the left hand come over the midline into that right side. We're going to pack and pull this right shoulder down as we continue to pack and pull that right hip down. We're going to continue with some solid breathing here. Great work, everyone. We're going to take our next deep breath and we are going to fill up that mid back rib cage area of our back. We're going to fill up the space between our shoulder blades and we're going to expand that front hip crease of that right side. Always making micro adjustments as needed. You don't have to stay stagnant here. You can turn from one side to the other wherever you feel the biggest stretch. You can fold underneath and roll over. You can stay up top if this is what works best for you. But we're going to go ahead and get into our left hip now, and we're going to explore a little bit more on that side. So let's safely come out of this as needed. We're going to once again start in a neutral position where I can find my pressure in my left hip before I dump back into that pigeon. So I've got my lateral shift to my left side, finding that pressure in my left hip. I'm going to take my feet from a 6 o'clock to a 5 o'clock position, still holding on to this pressure. Now as I lift my right leg up and over, if I lose that pressure, we need to start over. I'm coming from my left side, left hip lateral shift, 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock with the feet, and making sure that as I lift that right leg up and over, I'm holding tension, holding pressure, sitting back into this left hip. My left hip tends to be a little bit tighter than my right. I don't have as much depth. That is okay. I'm going to work within that range that I have on each hip.
And I'm gonna allow the difference between my hips help me teach and practice with one another. What happened in my right hip that didn't go so well or went great that I can utilize to help my left side if things aren't going well, to turn it around and make it a great practice and a great session. In my right side, I spent most of my time here in this forward linear position holding this pigeon stretch. My left side really likes to turn and open to the right. And once again, utilizing these sensations, listening to my body, understanding what it wants at this time, today, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it what it needs. Some days we will come into this practice and our bodies just won't like what we're getting into, and that's okay. It's time to listen to the body and give yourself what you need at the day you need it, and not to follow some prescription or a workout detailed description of what some trainer has told you. If you're getting into a position that's not serving you, you should not be doing it. And today is the same thing. If this pigeon stretch on an elevated surface is not serving you, let's go ahead and bring it to the floor, find a position that we can work within our range of motion. It took me a while to get to this elevated pigeon without having pinching and discomfort in the front of my hip. I hope that you don't struggle with that as I have, but in case you do, there are alternatives. You can bring it to the floor, you can put your hands on the elevated surface, and that will help get you taller out of that hip, give that front hip crease more space, and limit that pinching. So if that's something that you need to get into versus this elevated pigeon, I highly encourage that you do that for you and your body. We've got just one more minute here in this left side. Once again, finding the position that gives me the best work for myself, grabbing cushions, doing whatever I need to find that stretch, to find that position that my left hip so badly desires. One more deep breath into that left hip, low back and mid rib cage area. Feel everything expand. One more deep breath now. We're gonna get a big deep breath into this right side body, into the right armpit. Really feel that right side stretch. Beautiful. We're gonna safely come up and out of this pigeon hold now. We're going to come back to our floor. We're gonna get ready to get back into another round of decompression. So I'm going to get my booty band around my thighs, make sure I have this tool to assist me, holding everything straight. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself situated back into the position that feels best for me, which is not quite a 90-degree angle and not too far away from the couch either. Right here in this position, once again, I can really allow somewhat of a pigeon with my feet, some pigeon toes with my feet, but I'm really trying to mitigate any type of outside dumping, keeping the knees straight, ankle and feet straight over the hips. Once again, if a little pigeon tuck with the toes feels good, that is okay. And we're going to come back with our head on the ground, double checking, making sure the chin is not jutting up and forward, elongating the neck, letting the shoulders fall to the floor by facing the palms to the sky. And you can come from an A to a T position, whatever feels best for you, or anywhere in between. Once again, this practice is here to serve you, and you are not here to serve this practice. We want to put our bodies in the position that helps us feel the most comfortable, that allows us to relax, let go of tension, and be more mindful, be more present with our body at this time.
Let's make any micro adjustments to make sure our tailbone is in a nice position. You'll find that after years of sitting, years of poor gait pattern with having weak feet, weak ankles, weak glutes, there's more than likely a position that your tailbone has adopted due to the life and environment that you have given it. Very rarely do we find people in our society today that have just fully decompressed, healthy, long spines. Unfortunately, due to our lifestyle, due to the stagnant lifestyle on sitting that we have to do from early age at school all the way to working a desk job, working at home, being with kids, or even just laying and lounging on the couch after a long day of work, our tailbones have found a different position other than long and decompressed. That position may look like tucked back into the left, tucked forward into the right, or in any of those unwarranted positions. It's time during this practice to learn where it is that your tailbone resides right now. Can you find a better position that helps you make that tailbone feel longer and more decompressed? And with tiny micro adjustments and with our breath work, we can continue to discover where our tailbone is and how to position it to feel more long, decompressed, and strong in our back and hips. We're going to take a nice deep breath in now, filling up the low belly, filling up the front hip crease of the quads, the hip flexors. Feel that space expand and let go with a nice drawn out exhale. Our next deep breath is going to fill up that space between our shoulder blades. We're going to feel our chest rise, feel the low back rise. And another beautiful exhale. I'm actually really excited for this right now. If you are following along with me, you may not be looking at your screen, whether you're watching on a tablet or a phone, whatever it may be. But I have a little bit of a shake happening in my left quad. It just stopped, but it will come and go. And this shaking is a release of tension. It's a little bit of a rewiring of the nervous system as I have taught my body to let go of pressure, let go of tension. My quads are still an area of my body that love to hold this tension. And as we go through this practice and you release that tension, these shakes can present themselves. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful feeling. And it's something that may happen to you during this time, may happen to you during some groundwork or standing work, but it's not something that we want to avoid or deter. It's something that you can just allow to happen, allow the shakes to occur, and let it go. And once again, just being mindful with my breath work here, not trying to force anything, just allowing my body to speak to me, allowing these sensations to drive my practice. I'm searching for green lights, getting away from red lights. Green light is a sensation that feels good. Green light is a sensation that my body is happy to go towards. A red light is really more of a pain signal, something that when we feel that sensation, we so badly want to get out of it immediately. We're looking for green lights. We're staying away from red lights. The next step of our breath work during this practice is really going to help you relieve tension in your body more so than the things that we have already done. At this time, I will ask that if you have an area of tension, pressure, any type of discomfort, I want to challenge you to try to bring your breath to that area. For me, with the increase of hockey and golf that I've been playing lately, I've had a little bit of a tight left quad and left hip flexor. Hence that shaking as I come into this work. I've gotten rid of some of that tension that I've built up during my activity time. So right now what I want to do is do my best to use my breath to send my breath to that left hip flexor, to that left quad. I want to compact and condense that breath into that unwarded tension and pressure that I feel. And as I condense and compact it, I'm going to let go and release with my long exhale. Sending your breath into those areas of tension and pressure, condensing and compacting that breath with that tension and letting go with it with the exhale of your breath is going to be one of the most efficient ways to let go of tension and pressure in your body and to come to a place of freedom. Freedom from pain, freedom from the annoyance and the aggravation of sensations that our bodies can give us when we are not giving our body what it needs. And if you're here doing this practice with me right now, you should thank yourself because your body is thanking you, giving it the time and the space that it needs to heal, come back to home base. We've got about 1.5 minutes left in this second round of our practice. We're really going to try and hone in on our breath again. A deep breath into the low belly and front hip crease. Feel the back of the mid-rib cage press to the floor. Feel the spine get a little bit longer with that inhale. And as we exhale, continuing to try to get longer and find more space. It's fairly easy to feel that length and space be invited into the body with an inhale, but it takes practice and is a skill to continue to elongate with the exhale. You may find the breath work being more like an accordion effect, but once again, as we continue to practice this work and you get better at honing in on your body, letting go of tension, you're doing deep breathing, sensations change, feelings change. So we're never looking for this one position, this single shape or this single sensation. As we give our body this practice and we get better, our bodies will speak to us with different asks. And that's okay. And that's why we stay here with ourselves, with our body. We continue to be mindful in this practice. We don't ever want to chase one green light. We want to be with ourselves, recognize where a green light is and bring ourselves there. And recognize that next green light may be in another position, may be in another place. going to do it for our second round here. Let's go ahead and bring our knees to our chest. Roll to a side that's most comfortable. Find your hands underneath your head and shoulder. Let's come on up out of this. We're going to get into a couple of minutes of rockers here. We're going to do about 6 minutes total of rockers. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of different variations of rocking, and you can go ahead and jump into the same rockers I'm doing, or utilize this time to listen to your body. Listen to what it wants. Does it need rockers with a little bit of support, elbows on the couch, going side to side? Have we released so much tension that we're really looking to ramp up the pressure in our backside that we maybe want to go hands on the floor, get knees together and drive wide, and try and find that sensation, find that pressure in the hips? For me, I'm a little bit more wound up. I'm a little bit tighter than most, and I really want to use this time to continue to release tension from my body. So the rockers I'm doing currently, I'm not looking to build maximum amount of pressure. I am, however, looking to find my backside and make sure that I'm working through my posterior chain, getting into my hips, and finding more space and relieving tension from the front of my quads, my thighs, wherever it may be, my low back. How can I create a small amount of pressure that's inviting, comforting to the rest of my body? There may be a few of you out there that are a little bit more Gumby-like, and this decompression practice has really just made you feel like a feather. If that is the case, you can certainly ramp up the heat here just a little bit. But once again, we don't want to create so much pressure and tension in our backside that we create and invite more tension and pressure into the rest of our body. So as you can see here, I've just been slowly bouncing back and forth from left hip to right hip, just a little bit of catch, playing catch with my left hip and my right hip. Really just kind of sinking into that lateral hip, finding that pressure, making sure I'm in that backside, give it a little bit of a stretch, and work it on over. It's been about 2 minutes of these side-to-side rockers, so at this time, I'm going to switch it up here. Once again, you can follow along with me or stay wherever it is that you've found to be the best position for you. I'm going to go ahead and bring my hands to the floor. I'm going to get a little bit more wide set with my knees than I originally was. And I'm just going to hang out here and get a couple of rockers here in my 45 set. Once again, really just trying to find space in my hips, trying to explore using the backside of my body with very little tension, not building up a lot of tension and pressure, but learning to utilize our practice that we've been working on in our last 2 rounds, which is letting go of pressure. Can I pressurize my backside and let go of the pressure elsewhere in my body? Unwarranted tension in the front hip crease, the quads, maybe somewhere around the abdomen, the rib cage, the low back. And I've almost gravitated back to these side-to-side rockers. Just really seems to be what my body's looking for at this time. If you want to, you can jump into some single-side rockers. Maybe one hip is asking for a little bit more love versus the other. My left hip tends to be that hip, a little bit more needy. That's okay. Give that right hip some love. We've got about 1.5 minutes left of some rockers here, so I'm going to go ahead and tuck my toes underneath me. If you need to, you can come from a slight down dog.
Drop the knees, the hands in front. You can come into the Spider-Man fingertips. Once again, we're just gonna rock it out from this position here. Still working on our breath. Nice, slow inhales through the nose. Long, exaggerated exhales through the mouth. Get a little stretch in the neck here. You can pack the shoulders back. I'm gonna pack my left shoulder back, bring my left ear long. Same with that right shoulder. Bounce back and forth here. Really feeling good today. Feeling nice and decompressed here. Just what my body wanted. Got about 30 more seconds here with these rockers, so take what you need from this, no more, no less. Once again, these rockers right now, we want to give our body a little bit of work. Ask that backside to engage. Make sure those are the muscle groups working, those hamstrings, those glutes, maybe a little bit of low back. But we don't want to turn on that pressure so loud that we're creating tension through the whole body. We're finding our happy medium where we are putting tension in the body where we want it, letting go of tension in the body where we do not want it. That's gonna about do it here for the rockers, and we are going to get back into our last round of decompression. So go ahead and grab any tool that you need. I'm strapping the booty band back on. I'm gonna go ahead and find my position on the couch. I hope you're making your way there now as well. And now that you are a little bit more well-versed in decompression through those last 2 rounds, I'm going to allow you to take yourself on a little bit of your own ride here for decompression. So find your shape, make those micro adjustments as needed, and let's go.
already almost halfway through this last round here. And I just wanted to note that although this seems like very easy work, we are still doing work. It is work to not do work. It is so easy and simple for us to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of our lives, to where even in this moment where we're trying to take time to do less, to be with ourselves, to take that reprieve, we find ourselves in this position with our mind racing about what we need to do next, what I need to do with the rest of my day, the things that need to get done. And as we find ourselves doing those next activities, racing around, doing the things we need to do for our daily life, we so badly wish for a moment of nothing, for a moment to relax, a moment to ourselves. And then we come here, we give our body some time, some space, and some love to heal, some time for ourselves, the exact thing that we wanted. And we lay here and our minds race. When is this going to be over? I've got things to do. It's a skill to turn the mind off, to wind down, to give your body that time that it needs, to go into the garage, to turn the engine off, to rest and to recoup. It's an easy analogy to make for the human body being the machine that it is to relate ourselves to a vehicle. And surely the vehicle that drives day to day, never turns its engine off, is driven hard and for long periods of time, is going to break down and have issues much, much faster than the car that is regularly maintained, the car that is cared for, given some love, gets its oil changed, gets some new filters, some new tires, gets that tune-up. We are unfortunately not taught in our lives to care for our body, to give ourselves the time to put ourselves in park, to give ourselves that oil change, to give your body that tune-up that it needs, the slight rest. So when your body is asked to go do work, that it is prepped and ready to do so. It's a pretty common thought process to believe that in order to fix yourself and to fix your body is that you need more work. We need more tension, more work, more contraction. And in reality, there's a vast chance that your body needs time of less work, no contraction, letting go of tension. This is a time of healing. This is a time of discovery. This is your time. I'm feeling very settled in now at this point. During this third round, I've really discovered my ability to calm and quiet my mind, to calm and quiet my body, my muscles, my joints. Feel very in tune, melted to the floor. Gravity has taken my bones and brought them to the backspace. I've made those micro adjustments. I've done my deep breathing. And I've discovered some new things in this practice. If this is your first time coming through this decompression practice with me, or anyone at that, if this is your first decompression practice, I am sure that many things have come up, new discoveries, new sensations, and I hope that you can take these into the next practice, not to once again to search for that same green light that you may have found today, but to find a space where you can come into limbo and allow those green lights to come to you. And as those green lights present themselves, you can work towards them without force. We're going to go ahead and work our way out of this position here. You can hang out here for as long as you want. There is no amount of time that you can spend in this decompression position that is bad for you. Your body will let you know when it is time to move. I want to thank you for joining me today. Your body, I'm sure, is thanking you. And once again, if you had some things that came up, I hope those were some good things. And if you need help with this practice a little bit more, I am always available here to help. I would love for any questions or concerns that are raised during this time to be addressed with me. I once again really hope that you found this to be as beneficial for you as it has been for me, especially if you're in a state of pain or have tension in the body. This is the practice that is always, always available for you. We do not graduate from this practice. This practice is always available. It is ever changing as your body continues to change and as you make changes with your body. This is always a safe and available space position for you. Thank you for joining me with this level 1 decompression recode on the couch. I'm Coach Howe. We'll see you next time.